A few weeks ago, VocalPoint celebrated our 10th anniversary. For those of you who may not know our mission, we choose a nonprofit organization each year to partner with, and we shape an entire concert around telling their story through music and art. We invite guest artists to join our 85 voices, and we amplify the good work that is being done in our community. We also raise money for the beneficiary organization, totaling over $217,000 to date. It was, as so much is these days, unique in its format this year, and definitely a pivot from our typical concert season. Central's Worship, Music, and Arts Committee was kind enough to invite me to speak a bit today about our season and reflect on our 10 years together. This week, liturgically, of course, we began the season of Lent. Our theme for these 40 days together is praying the Psalms. And in some ways, that's what VocalPoint has done from our very first year. We have named something that is important and sung about it. Of course, VocalPoint is a social justice-based chorus, not a faith-based one, although to many of us, it's an unimportant distinction. Our faith life is a life based on working towards a more just and kind world. So our VocalPoint work is faith work. And it is in this spirit that Central has been such an important and generous partner of ours from the very beginning. The Psalms are a rich collection of communal and individual poems, prayers, and songs that speak of lament and of praise, of deep faith and of real wrestling. The Psalms can certainly comfort, but they're not all comfortable. They do have, even with language that can seem old-fashioned and even dramatic, a realness and humanity to them. I guess more than anything, the Psalms remind us that our human condition is complicated. And I think the work that VocalPoint does honors that complication as well. People are complicated. Life is complicated. The stories we tell are complicated too. And it means that the answers aren't simple or easily constructed, but the effort is worth it because the people are worth it. So for today's reflection, I'm going to be pairing a psalm with a song from one of our past seasons of VocalPoint. It's not meant to imply that the composers were thinking of these psalms as they compose their pieces, of course, but rather a reminder that people have used music to express our heart's longings for generation upon generation. The first video that I'm going to share is from our third season, in which we partnered with Neighborhood House, just over on the west side of St. Paul. Copper Street Brass Quintet was our headliner that year, as were In the Heart of the Beast puppets. Those huge puppets made quite a statement in our sanctuary. Neighborhood House is an incredible organization that has been around for a very long time and was started by the Mount Zion Temple. Of course, the connection there is that Mount Zion Temple started on the same corner that Central sits today, making them one of our early neighbors. Neighborhood House has been a refuge for people seeking safety and assistance since their very first days. So as part of our collaboration with them, a group of us went over with craft supplies in hand to Neighborhood House one evening, hoping the kids might make some artwork for us to display during our concerts, which they did, and you'll see the colorful flags hanging above the singers in the video. We visited with Kids Connect, which is an after-school program, meaning that they've already been to school and then an after-school program, and now they are in the good hands of the Kids Connect staff and volunteers. The kids were a joy to work with, respectful, funny, creative, and sincere. When they learned we were singing a concert in a variety of languages, over a dozen that year, one of the staff members asked how many of them spoke more than one language. A number of hands went up. The choir had worked so hard to learn all the languages that season, so seeing that the kids seemed pleased that we had to learn something new made it worth it. There was so much joy in our interaction together. I didn't get a chance on that day to hear each of their stories, and I imagine that there were some difficult paths that have led some of those children to be in that after school program. But the kids were bright and clever, and it was a gift that they shared their time and talents with us that winter day 8 years ago. This first song is a hymn, actually, that we know and sing at Central. Sometimes we sing it as Be Still My Soul, and sometimes this version, This Is My Song. We commissioned a special last verse written especially in honor of Neighborhood House. And if I leave in search of other freedoms, to distant lands, to foreign shores unknown, I must have faith that there will be a haven, a place where strangers no more feel alone. This is my prayer to God of all the nations, a neighborhood where all can feel at home. From Psalm 96, we hear, "Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Declare God's glory among the nations, God's marvelous works among all the peoples. For great is the Lord and greatly to be praised." 2018, we partnered with Twin Cities Rise, which works to transform lives through personal empowerment, career training, and meaningful employment. They work especially with men of color to achieve long-term job success to support their families. Following our concerts with Twin Cities Rise, Central has had an ongoing relationship with them and has employed several TCR interns in paid work, enriching us as a congregation and providing employment for these job seekers. Of course, a huge highlight of that year was singing with the Grammy-winning Sounds of Blackness. Early on in our conversations with Twin Cities Rise, I asked them, what could those of us who have not experienced societal, economic, or racial barriers to finding meaningful employment do to better understand why TCR's mission is so important? Why is it not enough to simply tell someone to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and work hard to find a good job? What are the hidden and not so hidden challenges to stable employment? TCR recommended two things: read The New Jim Crow and watch the documentary 13th. We did both, and we invited the Central community to join us, and many of you did. I learned so much. I wanted to believe in a system that allows for anyone to make it, but it just isn't that way. The hurdles are significant, especially for people, even more so men, of color. And it didn't just accidentally happen that way. It was set up that way by people we elected into office, by laws that were enacted that disproportionately affected some more than others, by racist policies left unchecked. And it happens that way when those of us who have the privilege and power to do something choose not to. The stories shared during the Twin Cities Rise concert were powerful, as were the songs. The next two pieces are examples of that. The first is by composer Rosephanye Powell, inspired by Maya Angelou's Still I Rise, and the second piece is by our own Abbie Betinis, who wrote Resilience in response to her own understanding of the necessity of standing shoulder to shoulder to hold each other up and to find our own strength to move forward. I hear the words of Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Of whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to devour my flesh, my adversaries and foes, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise up against me, yet I will be confident. One thing I asked of the Lord, that I will seek after, to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in God's temple. For God will hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. God will conceal me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. Now my head is lifted up above my enemies all around me, and I will offer in his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing and make melody to the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry aloud. Be gracious to me and answer me. Come, my heart says, seek his face. Your face, Lord, do I seek. One of the things that I value most about VocalPoint is that we don't shy away from topics that might seem daunting or challenging. We also know that our topics are actually people, that our singing is not done in a vacuum, but instead gives voice to real people and real situations. And in giving that voice, we have an incredible responsibility to be thoughtful and careful, and in fact, to really spend most of the time listening before we do any singing at all. This is the work we do for so much of the year. We listen to the nonprofits as they tell us their stories, to music as it sings off the page, to composers as they share what is most compelling to them in this time, and to our audience as they tell us what matters. In 2019, we partnered with Walk-In Counseling Center and addressed the topic of mental health. I heard from so many people that year how mental illness has affected you or your family or dear friends. I heard how important and tender a topic it was. We talked about how we are asked to do something so terribly difficult for our loved ones and ourselves, and that is to hold space for each other, to give each other permission to grieve or hurt or heal. Our guest musician that year was Sara Thomsen, and her gentle music was the perfect way to hold musical space for each other in that 2-hour time. Deep peace of the rolling waves to you, deep peace of the silent stars. Let peace fill your soul, may peace keep you whole. From the psalmist we hear, out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to the voice of my supplications. If you, O Lord, should mark iniquities, Lord, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with you, so that you may be revered. I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in God's word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord, more than those who watch for the morning, more than those who watch for the morning.
Deep peace of the rolling waves to you, deep peace of the silent stars, deep peace of the blowing air to you, deep peace of the quiet earth. Let peace, let peace, let peace fill your soul. May peace, may peace, may peace keep you whole. Deep peace of the rolling waves to you, deep peace of the silent
powerful piece from our year supporting Walk-In was this next one, whose text was written as part of a collaboration between the composer, Linda Kachelmeier, and Voices of Hope, a women's prison choir at the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Shakopee, directed by Amanda Weber. The author of the text, Valarie Stein, wrote these words as part of a lyric writing workshop led by Linda, who then set them to music. Lift me up. I'm drowning in the pain and the shame of my past. Darkness is my reality. I can't count how many times I prayed that there would be a day when I opened my eyes and the imprisonment of my own mind would disappear and hope would shine down upon my face and I would feel no more fear. Hear these words of Psalm 139. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down. You are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you completely know it. You hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Last year, just weeks before COVID shut everything down, we were able to present our 2020 VocalPoint concerts in support of Express Bike Shop. Express Bike Shop is a social enterprise of Keystone Community Services, and I love what they do. They employ and empower young people in their first job. They learn about bikes, they learn about employment, they learn about working with coworkers and showing up on time and solving problems, and all those good and necessary job skills. They also sell used bikes and fix bikes and take donated bikes. So keep that in mind if you are in need of some bike repair or upgrading this spring. Of course, having the Flobots, a hip-hop band from Denver, was a huge highlight for us, and making music with them was really an honor, as was collaborating with several local high school choirs. This next piece, When I Lift My Voice, is another from the Justice Choir songbook, and the second verse was written by the high schoolers themselves for our concert. I hear the words of Psalm 59. But I will sing of your might. I will sing aloud of your steadfast love in the morning, for you have been a fortress for me and a refuge on the day of my distress. O my strength, I will sing praises to you, for you, O God, are my fortress, the God who shows me steadfast love. This season, of course, we didn't have a concert, but we did have a meaningful time of connection and learning. We invited many of our headliners back to check in with them and see what they were up to, and we had some really powerful conversations with national leaders in the choral field about what a healthy choral ecosystem looks like and how VocalPoint can continue to grow and thrive into such a future. We held an outdoor birthday party, fortunately before this bitter cold streak, and raised an additional $16,300 for our past beneficiary organizations. And we also prepared a virtual choir piece with about 40 of our singers that highlights a lot of our work together the past 10 years. So we'll conclude this morning with Rise by Arianne Abela.